everyone, and welcome to class. For today, it's going to be a very mellow flow, working into the upper back and the chest. So if you're feeling a little stiff in this particular area, this will be a great class just to get some things moving in a nice, even keel, gentle pace. For today, I do have a set of blocks with me for some opening, some longer holds. If you do have a smaller bolster or a rolled up towel, that will work just as well. So whenever you have what you need to practice today, go ahead and meet me on the mat. We're going to set ourselves up for a supine position of front body opening. So for today, I'm going to use a set of blocks. And if you're able to experience a greater degree of opening, that will be a great selection for you. But if you're feeling a little bit more uncomfortable, a little bit stiffer, something softer or lower to the ground would be a little bit better for you today. So in setting up the blocks, the first one is going to be on its medium height on that slender, longer edge. And that first block is going to come just below the points of the shoulder blades. So when you go ahead and set yourself up, come down nice and slow. Make sure that's even left to right, just underneath the shoulder blades. And then when setting up the second block, depending on your degree of opening, your comfort level, you can either have it on its tallest height so that you're supporting the back of the skull with just a subtle opening. Or if you'd like to have the head fall back a little bit deeper, go ahead and match or mirror what's happening on that first block and bring it a little bit lower. Purely based on comfort, on how you're feeling. So go ahead and take the next few moments to go ahead and find what suits you. If you're using a bolster or a rolled up towel, that's just resting right along your spine. And of course, supporting the head so that we can allow some space to be created within the front of the body, but with having the necessary supports to do so. Allowing the legs to come wide, making the adjustments by scooping or tucking the tailbone so that your low back is also supported and comfortable. And then arms are to come out alongside your body, maybe a little bit wider, palms towards the sky. Allowing your shoulders to gently roll open. Collarbones starting to melt down and away from one another. And as your body begins to settle into the blocks, starts to melt around the blocks, you feel your heart shining a little bit stronger towards the sky. And once you find a space that you're comfortable and supported in, allow your gaze to soften to a close. And feel the patterning of your breath as it continues to bring a little bit more heaviness to the body. And that heaviness creating space. Creating opening, releasing tension. And we're going to be here for a number of breaths more. So if this is not something that's comfortable for you to maintain, change your props up, change the height, make any adjustments you need so you can really maximize the benefits, the sensations that you can experience here in this position. Be here for another 3 more breaths. Make them long and slow, really fill up and empty out. Taking this opportunity to really cleanse the air within your body. And then from here, keeping the backs of your hands heavy, start to bend the elbows like you're going to bring the hands to your shoulders, but stop at around 90 degrees. And then once your elbows get to about 90 degrees, start to reach the hands up and overhead or towards that direction. Trying to find a little bit more expansion within the front of the chest. Maybe those elbows come even with the shoulders and then slowly come back down. So not only are we creating space within the upper back, we're starting to work our way through the chest, the shoulders. So make these movements as small or as big as you need. Soft bend in the elbows, then bringing those hands up to that goalpost-like position. Feeling this chest expand even further, pausing here as you need. And then lowering the elbows back alongside the body, maybe straighten the elbows back out if you'd like to go all the way back to the beginning. And move at your own pace. Still trying to allow the spine to remain heavy on your props. If you feel like you're starting to reach away, pause and linger in stillness, reintegrate. And then if you're really looking for some expansion and it feels good, maybe stretching the arms up and overhead beyond that goalpost position. But still making our way back down nice and slow. A few more rounds here. And on your next round, wherever you would like to end, wherever you'd like to linger, whether it's at that 90-90, maybe you are able to bring your elbows just beyond the shoulders. Maybe you are straightening your arms up a little bit further overhead, wherever you'd like to hang out. Stay here for just 2 breaths. Allow gravity to really open your body through the chest. Letting the forearms, the backs of the hands, all the way from the front of the shoulder, letting it all hang heavy towards the earth. And then go ahead and bring the hands back behind the head. If you're in a more expansive space, it can be a lot to come out of it. So go ahead and walk your feet in towards your bottom, so bending your knees. And then supporting your head, start to curl your chin up in towards your chest. Maybe a slight engagement of the core to help support your journey up. Kind of like you're doing a crunch up and off your blocks. But then once you're high enough, go ahead and bring your hands underneath your shoulders, back behind you, just enough to get yourself up and off the blocks. Or whatever prop you chose to use. But go ahead and remove those from your mat. And then go ahead and nice and slow make your way into a child's pose. Found a lot of expansion, now let's find some length along the back side of the body. So come into your variation of a child's pose, whether your knees are wide or they're a little bit more narrow. Wherever you are, as you make your way into your shape, into your space, slowly start to walk the fingertips up towards the top of the mat, trying to lengthen your body from hip crease all the way to fingertips as best you can. You want to feel the side bodies lengthen all the way up through the armpit as the rib cage expands. With every breath, reaching that tailbone towards the heel, trying to create length within those muscles along the spine. And although finding that expansion, that mobility within the mid-back can feel wonderful, changing direction can bring a little bit of intensity. So trying to counteract that space we just created by now finding a length So breathing into that back body, breathing into the back of the rib cage. Feel it lift up and away from the earth. And then exhale, find a little bit of heaviness. Nice and slow, start to walk your hands over towards the right, keeping that heaviness in the hips, especially in that left hip as you reach the arms over towards the right. Expanding through that left rib cage, feeling each individual rib spread a little bit further from one another. Keep that depth of your breath. The heaviness within the torso, heaviness within the hips. Length within the spine. And slowly start to walk yourself over towards the left side. And just making it abnormally slow. Today's super, super mellow. We're just trying to find space, find movements that feel good to release tension within the chest, the upper back. So feel free to take your time moving from one space to the next. Keeping that right hip anchored towards the right heel as you expand through the right rib cage. Breathing into the back right corner of that space. Still reaching long with those fingertips. And go ahead and make your way back towards center. Reaching the fingertips nice and long. Now from here, you can keep into your low and settled child's pose. Or if you'd like to prop the hips up, we're going to come into thread the needle. So move into a space that feels good. So if coming up and out of the hips a little bit more allows for a better sensation within your body, please feel free. Toes can be tucked or untucked if you move your hips up. We're going to keep that left arm reaching nice and long. Keep that length within that left armpit, that left side body, as you thread the right arm underneath, coming onto that right shoulder, right ear. Gaze comes over towards the left. Feeling that stretch along the back of that right shoulder blade, the right shoulder. And again, allow your hips to be where they need to be to make this happen. My hips are staying low because this feels good for me and my body, but you can always bring the hips up higher if you need a little bit more space to thread one arm under the other. But you're really trying to stretch this little L shape you have going on here. So those left fingertips, you still want to keep them creeping up towards the top of the mat. You still want to reach those right fingertips across and underneath you. And then go ahead and gently press through that left hand as you unthread your right arm. Right meets left. Settle for an exhale. And then on the inhale, reach those right fingertips along. Thread the left arm underneath the right. Really reaching those left fingertips under and across your body. Feeling that twist, that space you're creating within the back of that left shoulder. But keeping that length, keeping that window nice and open by reaching the right fingertips towards the top of the mat. And breathe. Finding your breath, keeping your breath. And go ahead and press through the top, through that right hand to bring the left back to meet the right. Settle on that exhale. And then from here, nice and slow, you're going to round up and through into tabletop position. It's really finding that rounding of the upper back. You're going to pause and linger in this cat pose. Pressing through the heels of the hands, tucking that tailbone. Creating space, opening within the upper back across the shoulder blades. And then go ahead and settle the belly down. Spine is nice and strong and flat. Pausing in the center. Now, next inhale's fine to drop of the belly. Nice and slow and deliberate as you move your way into cow pose. As slow as you possibly can. Gaze the very last thing to lift at the very end. Feeling it drive the shoulder blades down the back body. Press through the heels of the hands to keep space within the shoulders. Now let's go for one more round. Exhale, press the hands into the earth as you round through upper back, mid back, lower back. Tailbone tucks under. As the gaze drops, maybe chin towards the chest. Inhale, sit bones lift. Nice and slow, belly falls. Peel the chest and heart forward through the shoulders as you drive the shoulder blades back and down. Gaze lifts. Exhale, round. Finishing on that rounding. So we're going to move into a little bit more space. Really push through the heels of the hands. Create as much space within the upper back, as much opening as you can. And then inhale back towards that neutral spine. And then keeping the hips high, so hips stacked over knees. Toes can be tucked or untucked, whatever feels most supportive. And then nice and slow, start to walk the hands out to the top corners of the mat. We're going to come into puppy pose. So your hips stay high as the arms go out, chest falls down. Forehead nice and slow to the earth. Allowing the chest to open, to fall heavy. Just try not to fight the sensation that your body is experiencing, allowing it to happen. If this feels too intense and you did have blocks with you today, you can always come into child's pose and place your hands on the blocks for a little bit more of a subtle opener. Now slowly press through the palms, lift the chest, and slowly make your way forward to the top of the mat. Forearms come down, you're coming into Sphinx pose. And just a soft Sphinx pose. It doesn't have to be your biggest engagement of the back body, but still pressing gently through the forearms to keep the shoulders down and away from your ears. Toes reaching back behind you. Gentle lift of the gaze to the horizon. But in these mellow flows, sometimes without intention, my eyes are closed the majority of my flow. So if that's where you're at, stay there. Continue to tune in. And then nice and slow, go ahead and allow the elbows to come wide, hands to stack on top of one another as your forehead comes down and rests onto the backs of your hands. And in this space of constructive rest, just feel your breath. We're creating a lot of space mobility. We're targeting one particular area throughout today's flow. So while we're here in this moment of stillness, bring the breath back to the back body. Feeling your belly push into the earth with every inhale, rising through the upper back, the back of the rib cage. And then exhale, feeling that heaviness sinking into the earth. Lift the forehead away from the hands. Go ahead and bring that left arm into a goalpost position. Now we're going to open through the front of the chest. Likely this particular goalpost arm will bring a little bit more intensity to the front of the shoulder. So if you already know that that's going to be too much in your body, go ahead and extend the arm long into a capital T instead. But I'm going to take that goalpost variation with that left arm, tenting of the right fingers, forehead down to the earth, gentle lift of the right leg up in space, and just spinning the hips over towards the right as the right leg comes on top of the left and back behind. So nothing big with the legs, just finding a gentle turn of the body so we can find some opening within the front of the left chest, allowing the left ear to come down onto the mat. Nice and slow. Maybe a gentle press through that left arm to bring the hips back towards the mat. And go ahead and switch sides at your own pace once you're ready. Coming into that goalpost or that capital T arm on the right. Tenting the fingers on the left, forehead down. Then low lift of the left leg, nice and straight. And then spinning that left hip over top of the right, coming back behind to open the body over towards the left. And finding some space within that right shoulder. Keep that elbow even with the shoulder. Again, transition to that capital T if that feels better. But if you're making that switch, go ahead and back onto your belly first. Don't try to extend that arm while you're in this twisted position, please. Just go back to that space on your belly and just reset. And go ahead nice and slow. Going back onto your belly. And bringing the right fingertips out beyond the edge of the mat to match your left. 2 rounds of oscillating cobra. Inhale, peel the chest up and off the mat. Nice and slow. Gaze lifts to the horizon as you officially lift to your peak. And then exhale, softly fold back down, belly to the floor, chest, ribs, collarbones, forehead. Inhale, peel up. Really keeping those hip points anchored, creating space all the way through the belly, through the front of the body. Exhale, fall. Hands underneath the shoulders, press yourself back. Child's pose. You can make this child's pose as energetic as you need, so continuing to reach towards the top of the mat. If creating that space within the side bodies is still a requirement for you, a need for you, a want for you in your body, or if you'd like to make this a little bit softer, that's always available to you. We'll be here for just 3 more breaths. Now your next inhale, start to walk the hands back towards your knees, setting hips to heels. Feel free to bring your knees or bring your knees together so that they're parallel to one another. Stay here. If you'd like to, if you had a block and you'd like to add that to your shape, to your space, go ahead. It just adds a little bit more support as we come into this space. And then just take a moment to allow the gaze to settle to a close. Hands can rest on the thighs. Gentle lift of the chin, so if your eyes were open, you're gazing out into the horizon. And finding a nice tall spine, but finding a bit of softness into your space. On your inhale, sweep the arms around and up and overhead. Reach you nice and tall, and then exhale, cactus the arms, elbows drive down towards your hips, back of the hands fall heavy. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, cactus. Inhale, arms up overhead. Left arm stays nice and high, right hand comes outside. The right leg, the right hip, and inhale, sweep the left arm up and overhead, side body stretch. Keeping that left hip anchored. Maybe gazing up and underneath the left armpit. Inhale, arms back overhead. Right arm stays tall, left hand outside left hip. Exhale, up and over. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, find a gentle twist. Right fingertips beyond right toes. Left hand, right knee. Gentle spin. Twisting through the belly, so finding a lift of the low belly as you twist, as you find that gentle movement, rotation through the spine. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, twisting over towards the left. Inhale back towards center. Exhale, hands come to heart center. Go ahead and lace your fingers back behind your low back. On your inhale, drive the knuckles back and down behind you, open and roll the shoulders back and down as you spread the collarbones nice and wide. Deep inhale. And on your exhale, go ahead and bring your fist over towards your right hip. Drive the elbows towards one another and slowly let the right ear fall over towards the right shoulder, keeping the shoulders down and away from your ears. Feeling that length within the left side of the neck. Keeping the spine nice and tall. Inhale back towards center. And knuckles come back and down behind you. Really spread the chest out nice and wide. Puff the heart forward. And go ahead and flip your grip. And then go ahead and bring the knuckles over towards the left hip. Find that tall spine. Elbows towards one another. And then slowly allow the left ear to drop towards the left shoulder. Inhale back towards center. Exhale, drive and open. And then inhale, release the hold, sweep the arms up overhead. And then exhale, hands come to heart center. And this is where I'm going to be leaving you today. Feel free to go back into your starting shape, whether it's again with the blocks or a bolster or a rolled up towel. Maybe you want to do the same amount of support. Maybe you want to change it up, increase or decrease the intensity of how you started class today. Or you can take a Shavasana and stay there for at least 10 breaths to really settle into all of the space and energy you created within your body during today's flow. As always, I thank you so much for coming to practicing with me, and I look forward to seeing y'all next time. Have an awesome rest of your day.